Om Shri Matre Namaha. 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 Om Shri Matre Namaha.
वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। ॐ गणपतये नमः। ॐ गणपतये नमः। ॐ गणपतये नमः। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ
या देवी सर्वभूतेषु शान्तिरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः। या देवी सर्वभूतेषु शान्तिरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः। या देवी सर्वभूतेषु शान्तिरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः। Namaste. Welcome to Kaivalya Yoga Gurukulam, or KYG as we all know it. Thank you for taking time and joining this divine Satsang, where we continue to learn the secret of the universe that lies within us. Together we form this beautiful and powerful vibrations in the cosmos that will not only help us, our families, our children, but it will stay there to continually help those seekers that seek the highest truth. May the divine goddess Sri Lalita guide us in this endeavor. So in today's satsang or session, we are going into yet another dimension, yet another avarna, as they call it. Avarna, again, I may repeat myself, but it's worthwhile to ponder on these meanings. Worthwhile because these meanings may reveal something new every time you hear it. Avarna is a sheath. Avarna can be considered as a gate. Avarna is a wheel that is so fast in motion that you can't see clearly. So you want it to slow down, to stop, to analyze, right? That's what Sri Chakra is. It's not just one avarna in motion, not one chakra in motion, but it is 9 chakras together in motion. So all of that you see there is divine grace that has paused these motions for us to get a glimpse. And that glimpse, that snapshot, if you will, is what we are studying. Trying to grasp the enormity, the richness, and the power of the Devis or Shaktis that reside within us. Isn't it fascinating that the great rishis have actually spelt it out for us? How else would we have even understood seeing this, what it could have meant, what it would have meant? We could have been all over the place. But thanks to our rishis, thanks to our powerful traditions, thanks to the great teachers and the gurus who kept it alive and kept passing on this knowledge. Yes, there have been many interpretations, many traditions that have flourished from this. But I guess that is part of the learning process. So we are lucky that we are here with at least the basic knowledge of the names of these Shaktis. What we are learning is merely how does this apply to us in this day and age? How can we use it for our own spiritual progress? How can we allow that to enrich our personal lives? So with that bhava, if you will, with that attitude, we enter the 6th Avarna with reverence and prayer. So far, this is what we have covered. The 5 sheets. You have the square out on the outermost periphery, if you will, that itself has 3 walls. And then you have the 16 petals. That is the 2nd Avarna. Then you have the 8-petal circle. Petals and circles, a unique energy by themselves. That is the 3rd Avarna. Then you had the 14 triangles representing the 14 lokas. That was the 4th Avarna. Then we had the power of number 10. That was the 5th Avarna. Now the 6th Avarna is going more within. And there you see a little more brighter, if you will, as it comes and goes. I'm just making it blink so that it catches your attention. A little more highlighted. It's also got the same 10 number as the 10 outer triangles. So in a more colloquial manner, you say 10 outer triangles and 10 inner triangles, just to distinguish between the two, because the number of triangles are the same. When you say 14 triangles, there is only one in that which has 14 triangles, and that is the 4th Avarna. But if you simply say 10 triangles, then it could mean the 5th Avarna. It could also mean the 6th Avarna. And therefore we say the 10 outer triangles, which we studied in the last class, and the 10 inner triangles. So today we are going deeper, a little more into the power of 10. We discussed the power of 10 earlier. And so we are going into this and beginning to understand what are the names, who are the Shaktis, what is it that the divine goddess has to give us in this Avarna. So let us go there. Once again, as I always begin these Avarnas, I mentally do what is called a parikrama in Hindi, or a pradakshinam, as we call it in Sanskrit, or Tamil for that matter. So it is reverentially going around, bowing to all of these energies, even if you don't know what they are at this point. We just go around, get the feel of the scope of what we are going to study, and then we come back to the beginning. One of the practices I have adopted, and I try to, is when I visit a temple, I first go around the temple and then decide to go in. It just gives me a sense of first understanding how beautiful the temple is, watching it from all directions, observing the gopurams from all sides, and then saying, all right, let me go in. There are exceptions, of course. It depends if I reach at 7 or 8 in the night, and if certain parts of these temple premises are closed or something, then I'll just do that, and the next day morning I will go for the pradakshina. But it's a nice idea to first go around the temple. I still remember Prashanti Nilayam. It is such a beautiful experience that as students we didn't get to do this, but when I moved into the ashram a few years later after living the hostel life, and during the holiday periods we would stay in the ashram, we had our Sadguru, Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba, sleeping in his bedroom, or he is there physically, right? We say sleeping, but if we are awake, obviously he's awake. He was awake before all of us at 3:30 or 4 in the morning. But then from about 4 o'clock, if I remember right, or maybe 4:15, I'm not sure, 4 or 4:15 a.m., extremely silently, devotees would get to go around the temple, the bhajan mandir, and above the bhajan mandir, in a small room, he would stay. So devotees would actually go around a physical, living God. And I spent many years doing that, thinking, how fortunate am I to even do this? How lucky am I to even do this? It's not a stone, it's not a symbol, it's a living God. He's a living God, and I'm going around him. So it gives a chance to, so maybe that is why I like to do this initially, because we would start our day, do that. And then people would settle down for Omkaram, and then we would step out and sing bhajans. Days would begin so beautifully, and still does, I am sure, in Prashanti Nilayam. So going around and that circle, the idea is a very powerful idea. And that's why even in Sri Chakra, it's called a chakra, because something is going around clockwise. The energies in the body rotates clockwise. We understand time to go around. That's why we celebrate birthdays again and again, because we say, oh, it's time for my birthday, it's come back again. So there is a circular energy generally in motion. Anyway, so that's why I like to go around this, and also to create a habit, if you will. Because when we eventually get into the ritual of the Sri Chakra, we will be actually going in the same direction for each of those. The ritual itself, I've not even come to that. We're just analyzing the Sri Chakra. Then we come to the Khadgamala, which has so many more mantras which will prepare us for each avarna. And thus we learn the whole thing. But first, let us now understand first, what is it? What is the Sri Chakra? And the core and the main content, the majority of the content of the Sri Khadgamala sloka. And then we will come to the Khadgamala stotra itself, and then come to the process of doing this. So there is a lot more to cover. So don't celebrate, oh yeah, we are already on the 6th, just 7th, 8th and 9th. We'll be done soon. It'll be a while. So let's go back to the slide. So today, I hope to cover some of these. like we did the last time, because the size has not changed. I'll just follow the same format. The first Shakti that is now being revealed to us is called Sarvagna. 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 Sarva, as I said in the last class itself, Sarva means all. Again, even in these 10, they're very similar to, both the 10s are very similar. So even in this 10, every one of them has this word sarva, 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 sarva. That means in all aspects, all. So these triangles are simply opening up our consciousness. So look at the body language, right? As you're going into the Sri Chakra, the idea or the symbolism seems to be that it's narrowing in. But the more you get more, in other words, the more focused you get towards the core, the more these ideas and the Shaktis open up your mind. So ponder over that. It's fascinating. And so sarva, sarva, sarva. So these words were very mindfully chosen, right? So we had to pay attention. Sarvagna. Gna comes from the word gna. J and A is gna, because it is the word or the letter from which comes jnana, or wisdom, right? Jnana. So gna. In one of his Vahinis, Bhagwan Baba, my guru, writes, while explaining the Sankhya, Purusha, Prakriti, he says, at the very core of creation, there is Purusha and there is Prakriti. There is the energy that comes from Purusha and creation you see, and then there is that intelligence that is not connected to anything, right? Like the producer in the movie. The producer just funds the movie, but he's not seen in the movie. You don't see him, you don't hear him, but he's there. The other one is like the director. The Prakriti, she's the director. She's the one who is choosing people and deciding who plays what role, how long they play, and everything. From screenplay to editing, everything, she's in charge. So she gets all the credit, but he sits behind. Purusha, Baba said, another word, because there's really no word to go there. Prakriti we can relate to, right? We call it Mother Nature, we call it Prakriti, we call it Devi, Shakti. Of course, we have names like Shiva and all, but that still colors our mind, because we think Shiva is a god, he has hands, he dances, so that colors our mind. Purusha is that concept of that being, if you will. Baba uses the word Jna. He uses the word Jna. When you go finally to that lingam concept, in this beautifully decorated altar that Maya has put those lovely yellow tulips. At the very core of all of these goddesses and gods, you have the main directors, Vishnu and Lakshmi, conducting the show, the Shaktis. But then at the very core, there is that formless, crystal clear Spatika Linga, which represents Jna. So that is Jna. So in this, we are getting to explore that now. We're getting our minds open there at that level. That is where the word Jna comes from. So here, Sarvagna means we get all knowledge. All knowledge is available for us. There is nothing that remains hidden. If we only look for it, we will find it. Now we have to understand this with a pinch of salt, if you will. It's not as simple. You might say, okay, but that does mean I know physics, I know chemistry, I know mathematics, and I know everything in all subjects. The answer is yes, but that's not the full answer. The answer is potentially yes. In other words, what opens up within you, and listen to this carefully, because it's important, because people misunderstand. Enlightenment to be, or an enlightened master to be somehow expert in all knowledge. He or she will be. But more importantly, what is here, Sarvagni, is the doors open, the access to those knowledges are available for you. In other words, you can access the knowledge of chemistry, for example, if that is very, very foreign to you at this moment, that knowledge becomes accessible. Suddenly you will begin to understand every equation in that chemistry, every formula. You'll be like, wow, now I get it. Maybe 10 years ago or 20 years ago or in your childhood, you would be just staring at it thinking, how do I even understand this or memorize it? It is the same thing with mathematics. It's the same thing with any art, whether it is singing or dancing or any of that. Suddenly that door opens and knowledge begins to flow. It just clicks. I talk most of this from my personal experience because this is how this divinity is really guiding me. I feel so empowered and enriched that I'm sharing it with you all. And it's available for every one of us. When I started teaching the Kala Bhairava Ashtakam, in my very first short video, I said, let's do the beginning simple steps of Kala Bhairava Ashtakam. And I showed how we could do some simple steps. It was a 7 or 8 minute video, I guess. I don't know. But nevertheless, that's all I knew at that point. Seriously, I didn't have time, and I said, that's good enough because we had to focus on learning and so on. But then we did the first verse. By the time we come to the second verse, the second and the third line and the fourth line, I got into that spirit of Kala Bhairava dance, and as I was doing it, I was just, the steps were forming, and I was jumping up and down, my legs were going high, and I was getting all kinds of movement. Where did that come from? I have done some kind of dancing. I mean, like all of us have done something in our childhood and so on. But that suddenly that access opens, and then you just have to tune in, and then things start happening. I'm not saying I dance very well, but I enjoy it, right? I suddenly feel it just happening. We don't get a chance to rehearse. All I hear is Maya saying, "Please stay in the camera. Please stay in the camera," because I really begin to enjoy the rhythms there. And it is the same thing with anything. We open our minds and anything is possible. Which is why when we were trained in the ashram, it wasn't a regular ashram. It wasn't regular education. Baba taught us the extremes of spirituality on the one side, talking about Atma, Paramatma and so on. That's the extremes of spirituality, right? You are God. You have everything in you and all of that. And then on the other side, extreme materialistic knowledge. So you can imagine my plight when I was doing PhD in finance and banking, and then sitting at his feet and writing a drama and listening to him talk about the vastness of consciousness or the human spirit and values such as love and unity and dharma and all of that. And I had to write that into place. So my mind was there. Then I have to come and think of balance sheets, profits and losses, and analyze them and so on and so forth. It was not easy. It was very difficult. But I think that training began to open us up. Even though there were a lot of resistance to either this side, which we could not follow because Swami was at such heights, and yet he took pains to explain to us. And also a great resistance on this side because it was just regular boring studies. And then he would push us into sports. Yes, do something for sports meet, he would say. Or there is a function coming. Come on, let's have a music program, he would say. So he would push boys to expand their horizons of learning in all directions. Sarvagni. That is the power of Sarvagni. So when people ask me, how deep is your faith? I just can't even explain, because when you look at the Sadguru doing all this, the divine incarnation, the being doing all this, you know that is what this Mother Sai, this Sai wants us to embody that. So when you enter spirituality, don't close your mind to anything. Keep it open, and therefore that opens up access to all knowledge, and then that knowledge begins to flow. If it doesn't, there is resistance in our minds. So we need to open that. Then Sarvagni, we begin to experience Sarvagni. We may not know anything and everything at a drop of a hat or a snap of a finger, but when you read something, you'll begin to understand it far, far, far more quicker. That is the energy of the Gayatri, the enlightenment, the ability to retain, the ability to memorize, the ability to comprehend, analyze. And life will be full of aha moments. Then you'll see the connection between finance on one side and geography on the other side and spirituality on the other side. Then you'll say, you know what, these are all part of one knowledge. So that is Sarvagna. So that door begins to open in our consciousness. See how much enrichment happens when you begin to accept that divine power that begins to flow through you. Nothing comes to us, it flows through us. All of these energies flows through us, begins to express themselves through us. In other words, they become alive. These are all, they are there. They're not coming from somewhere. They are alive, but they are dormant. In other words, they are sleeping. So when we do the Sri Khadgamala, when we meditate on each of these, when we understand the meaning, we are slowly awakening them. And then when it comes with the mantra, with the Bijakshara mantras, it's like the alarm bell. You're ringing the alarm, so they cannot but awake. But then they'll go back to sleep if we let this sadhana go. So you do this. We'll come to that later, of course, but it's just coming to me now. Let me share it. So we do this on the 8th day of the cycle of the moon. So twice a month at least, we do this. The Ashtami, as it's called. We do this kind of a puja because that's the day you could get the maximum benefit for Devi Khadgamala. So you do this on that day. And therefore, you are keeping them awakened in your consciousness. And when you do that consistently over a period of time, mindfully, not as a quick ritual, but taking time to do this, and we'll discuss all that as we go along, then what happens is these energies begin to become alive. And once Devis are alive, they won't simply sit quiet. They begin to express themselves through you. They'll make you do things which begin to enrich your lives, empower your lives. And this is available to you, to me, to everyone who practices Devi Khadgamala with this understanding. So there is no room for fear or nothing. It's just love. And it becomes a beautiful journey into this divine world, if you will, a dimension, taking us to the very core of ourselves. So, Sarvagna. Then comes the next one, and that is Sarva Shaktya. So one side is all kinds of knowledge, doors open. In the same manner, you begin to get the ability to exercise power, strength at all levels. At all levels. Because this energy, this Devi who is awaking, she can give you power at all levels. She'll give you physical energy and strength to the extent you want. If you want to be the bodybuilding champion of the world with Khadgamala Puja, you can do whatever you want with it. So to the extent you want, just like Jnana, to the extent you want to the Sarvagna, it's available because there is no limit to these energies. They're all energies that are directly connected to the core, to the higher self. So whether it is physical strength, healing, health, and so on, and there is mental strength. In this case, they are very focused on this. It's only about strength. So let me take that word back about healing. We'll come to that in a little bit. But this is about strength, power, mental strength, spiritual strength. All of this will come. Sarva Shakti. Sarva Shakti. Imagine, not just Atma Shakti and all of that. It is Sarva Shakti. All kinds of power you think of will be available to you at your disposal. You will, in other words, you will get motivated to take care of your body. You will be motivated to pay attention and become mindful of your thoughts and words and actions. You will be motivated and guided. You will feel guided. So things which seem to be very difficult suddenly seems to be like, wow. Or you might be getting into the right company and get motivated into all of this. So suddenly you will feel that this Shakti is awakened and she starts guiding you to the right people, to the right book, to the right place, and begin to enrich your life. Sarva Shaktya. None of these powers, if you will, or Shaktis, if you will, are very mystical and so non-approachable. They all are simple day-to-day things. But when you tap into the very source, then they become unending in their capacity to give. Sarva Shakti. Then comes Sarva Aishwarya Pradaya. Sarva, again, all. Okay? Sarva Aishwarya Pradaya. Pradaya. Prada means grantor, the one who grants. What is granted now? That means the energy that comes is coming that gives you sovereignty over all. Sarva Aishwarya. It's not simply Aishwarya of one or two, it is Sarva Aishwarya. So Aishwarya, the word Aishwarya has many meanings to it. Aishwarya could mean prosperity. Sakala Aishwaryam, we say, it could also mean luxuries and comforts. So it's open to all of that. But the core meaning of Aishwarya, especially when word comes as Sarvaishwarya, then it is sovereignty. It is like the Midas or Midas, Maya. How do I say that? There is a story of King Midas, right? We all must have studied or read about it. If not, just Google it. Whatever he touches becomes gold. And he gets so excited that he touches himself, he turns into gold, and he misses the whole point, right? Anyway, like the Bhasmasura, who whatever he touched became ashes, and finally Shiva made him touch himself. So he also got reduced to the ashes. So Sarva Aishwarya is like that. Sovereignty over all. Whatever you touch can turn into gold. So you will never go seeking help from somebody. You'll never go begging from somebody. There will be a sense of great empowerment, a knowing within you that God is with me. He will make things possible. There is a great purpose that's flowing through me. You know, I never get tired of saying this. I've said it in so many contexts. I saw this in my guru, Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba. There was a time my father and I were in the central trust accounts. We were looking after the money matters of the trust. And one would think, oh, big ashram, so many people are coming. And in the 80s, late 80s, and up to the time I went, there were a lot of donations coming, but then there were much more expenses than donations. But did that stop him from doing what he did? Did that stop him or slow him down from his visions? This is what opened my eyes, until today, I just sit and think, wow, there is a great secret this avatar has given us. We shouldn't miss that. Because we are caught up, the idea of sovereignty over all is just a concept for us, right? Where have we seen somebody who lived like that? Somebody who really had nothing and yet exhibited sovereignty over all, not as a show, but in a true sense. He had complete command over his closest devotees. Many of them were very, very, very popular and very wealthy. He could have easily told them, I need your help for doing a great project. And they would have poured all their wealth at his feet. But he never once asked them or told them, I need your help. Never once. I cannot think of any devotee today in the world who will come and say, yes, Baba asked me for help. Never. You might ask, how did that big hospital come? Yes, there was one devotee with millions of dollars. But guess what? He waited 18 years with that. 18 years, he kept telling, I have money, I want to give you. And all he got was this. Sovereignty. That is, I know. I can draw this from the whole universe if I want. Keep your money with you. That power, that is true sovereignty. And this Avarna gives us that. She is giving us that power, opening that door to understanding the sovereignty. That will come when we open that mindset to open our minds to acquire a mindset that says that God is the one who truly provides for me. And God will continue to provide for me much more than I need. He provides for me much more than I actually need. That understanding has to be deeply embedded in our souls, if you will. And this kind of worship opens the door to that understanding. When we sing, I don't have to ask somebody, how did I sing? Or I need not get confidence because somebody else praises me, or I lose confidence and somebody else criticizes me. I will take that criticism and use it for my growth. I'll say, okay, great. I think what he or she said makes sense. So, because it doesn't affect my sovereignty. I know who I am. I know what I am capable of. And that capacity begins to keep increasing because of Sarvagna, that knowledge is coming. And so sovereignty comes as well. Sarva Shakti happens as well. When all of these energies wake up, why would anyone feel beggarly? Why would anyone feel small? And at the same time, one would not get pride or false ego because he or she will know that these are the Shaktis that are working through me and I am but an instrument. And our job is to simply allow them to work. Sarva Aishwarya Pradaya. What a beautiful word. Just meditating on that alone gives your mind a sense of enriched awakening. Sarva Aishwarya Pradaya. Sarva Aishwarya Pradaya. The one who grants sovereignty over all. Please do not misunderstand this before I go to the next slide. This thought just came to me. Don't misunderstand this by somehow I have got power over others and therefore they are under me. It doesn't work like that. This power over all is, a true leader is one who shows respect, right? Baba would, when he comes out of the door to meet somebody, it could be an ordinary devotee, it could be the vice chancellor, it could be the prime president of India. And he would come and, hello, sir, how are you? He will bend down and reach out to hold their hands. And that humility placed him on that leadership. Hanuman never once aspired for any status, any position, nothing, right? He just said, I want to serve Ram, that's all, give me that freedom. And he had the freedom to serve Ram the way he wanted. And would any of you or me, when we think of Vanaras, who was the leader of the monkey army, almost instantly we think of Hanuman. We don't think of Angada. Angada was the leader. If you're not familiar with these names, just this is stories from Ramayana. Angada was the leader. And there were other leaders established in the army of Vanara. Sugriva was the king, the emperor. But when you think of the Vanaras that served Rama, you only think of Hanuman. But what leadership position he had in the army? What was his status? Nothing. But yet he had Sarva Aishwarya. Sarva Aishwarya. This quality was in him. So don't misunderstand this saying, I need this because I want to control my children or I want to control my people in the office. You can't control anyone. But your actions will be so powerful that they will begin to respect you. They will begin to recognize you. They will begin to listen to you. Not only human beings, but the entire universe will begin to obey you and come to you. All right. The next one. Sarva Jnanamayi. Sarva Jnanamayi. Embodying all wisdom. There is a very beautiful secret hidden in this one single segment here. We started with Sarva Jnayai, and now we're coming to Sarva Jnanamayi. Did they run out of adjectives that they had kind of trying to repeat the same thing? Because Jnana is again same wisdom. So Sarva Jnai and Sarva Jnanamayi, what is the big difference, right? pay attention here. None of this is ever a mistake or simply loosely worded or written. It can never be. So here the door is opened. There we begin to embody those wisdom. They begin to flow through us. The first door, Sarvajnai was about your ability to grasp knowledge. When you begin to do that, Sarva Shakti comes. All powers come. Sarva Aishwarya Pradaya, all the Aishwarya comes. When all of that sovereignty, a sense of power, and you're open to learning all kinds of knowledge available to you, then finally you begin to embody that wisdom. You begin to embody that wisdom. Sarva Jnanamaya. This is embodying. So it's different from just that wisdom being available. It begins to flow through. You begin to apply that. You begin to apply that. So this is what I said when I was teaching Kala Bhairava, or I'm doing, we are still doing it this Friday. Again, we'll spend the whole time recording and release it perhaps, hopefully, on Saturday. So when when I'm doing it, suddenly the dance begins to happen through me. So it was not Sarva Jnanamai, but at that moment, Kala Bhairava's dance, Kala dance, the Tandava steps and all of that came. But the seeds were sown for that when? Because this is on my mind, as I was writing and preparing slides this afternoon, I was trying to think, and then I can only share these things from my experiences, right? So please allow me. The seed first, because it needs a seed sown in number 1, Sarvajnai. From there, you must have read about it or trained for it or done something with it. And then this seed begins to blossom and then it flows through you. So there is that process. In the middle, there is Shakti and Aishwarya. That also, Sarva Shakti, Sarva Aishwarya, that happens. Preludes for this to happen. I hope I'm making sense. It was Swami's, we say Swami, but we call Baba Swami because that's how I used to address him. Swami means dear Lord. So my guru. So Swami's 60th birthday. And it was also a world conference, 1980. And perhaps it was 1985. It's become very vague now in my mind. I'm not able to, or maybe 1981 or 82 again. I have to correct some of my students. I have to ask them these things. So it was birthday and Swami said, there are so many boys, they all want to do something. Let us call a dance teacher who can teach them dances. So a dance teacher came and he actually, he was well versed in all kinds of dance. So he formed groups of boys and he picked up, there was a whole selection process. We were excited. About 100, 200 people at that, boys at that time. So he picked up a group for Bhangra dance. If you're not familiar with Indian dances, never mind. It's just different folk dances from different parts of the India. Then he picked up a group for dancers of Orissa dance, and then he picked up from South India, Kerala dance, and so on. And then he had this idea for Shiva Tandav. And he picked 2 of us. One was my colleague and brother, Shri Vedanarayan, who was a great dancer. He was a professional dancer, so it was a piece of cake for him to do that. He picked him up and he said, I want 2 of you all to do this. And he picked me up. And so we learned Shiva Tandavam, a short piece, maybe 5-minute pieces or something like that. We learned how to run and jump like Shiva Tandav and all of that. For me, it was the very first time. So that Sarvajnai I'm talking about, I'm attributing the Kala Bhairav steps to perhaps something that was sown there. And I had the great chance to perform the Shiva Tandav in presence of Swami, in his presence, who for me is the embodiment of Shiva himself. So we did it. He was happy. Of course, other dances, he was very thrilled with all the dances. And like this, there were many, many experiences. But it came to my mind when I was thinking of this. and relating it to what I'm currently experiencing with Kala Bhairava steps, right? So at some level, a seed is sown, and then it takes time, and then it comes out through you. It's an experience for all of us, right? Anything that comes very naturally to you, ask yourself, oh, there was a seed sown. However, there must be so many more seeds sown that we have not nurtured, but they are waiting to blossom. They are waiting to flow. So when we understand, open our minds once again, because every subject we learned in school, every teacher we met, every inspiration that we have had, every book we have read, are seeds that are there in our subconscious and unconscious, every experience we have had, right? And they're all waiting. But when we understand Sarva Shaktiyai, Sarva Aishwaryai, and then we come to Sarva Jnanamai, we have a chance to allow all of those, anything that we could choose will find expression through us. We become embodiments of that wisdom, right? And so that is how I understand this. And so the way these energies begin to awaken is then they begin to apply that application of the knowledge into practice. You become an embodiment of that, which is why Baba would say, more than your words, it is your actions that I respect. And I will stop today with this, and I'll continue. I'll just share one more beautiful incident. It's just coming to my mind because I'm talking of this embodying of the wisdom. So this Sarva Jnanamaya otherwise becomes, she will be dormant. When I say she, I'm talking of the Shakti. She will be dormant. If she's awakened, then she's going to dig into all the little seeds that you've had. And if you also awaken the Shakti, she will use her energy. So Shakti and her, and the Aishwarya who establishes sovereignty, in other words, deep self-confidence, and say, yes, I can do this. And I know I will be guided. I can do this. So when that sovereignty, she also awakens, then that seed which was sown begins to blossom and you begin to embody them. It's important for us to find an expression for those things. Even values, you need to express them into your everyday life. I still remember there was one boy talking to Swami, and Swami wanted to teach him and us all a lesson. So he kept telling what, like this. He's sitting on the chair, right? We are on the floor, so we kneel up and talk to him. So this boy got up, talked to him. He was kneeling. He was one of the drama boys. He wanted to ask Swami something. So he kneeled up, and he was first whispering something, because perhaps he didn't want others to hear. So Swami went close to him, and then he spoke again. Swami said, what? And he kept on saying this again and again. Then Swami said, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Your actions are so loud that your words don't even reach me. Your actions are so loud that your words are not reaching me. I can't hear you. Because you're saying one thing, you're doing something else. Am I right? He asked. And that boy smiled sheepishly. He said, when you're doing something else, you're saying, telling me something else, I'm only listening. What comes to me is what you're doing. Chesidi okati, cheppati okati. Cheppinatlu chestava ledu. So he was saying, do you do as you speak? No, you're doing something else, you're speaking something else. So I can only listen what you're doing. So the necessity for expression in order to reach the divine is more important than us verbally speaking or contemplating on ideas and so on. We have to allow that to find expression through us. Then we begin to embody that wisdom of that subject or that value or that concept. Then we understand what does it mean to practice love in difficult situations. What does it mean to practice right action in difficult situations, right? We fail. Then we say, oh gosh, wow, I know I thought I was there, but now the way I reacted to this person or this situation at work or at home, I realize I have to have more work to do. So this Devi, she's awakened, she's teaching you how to embody that knowledge. And then once you do it, you understand your mistakes, then you begin to get better. It is the same thing when we want to allow talents to express us. What is practice? It is the same thing. A painter finally begins to paint his or her expressions almost spontaneously. She takes a brush and the energy from her hand flows into the canvas. That is that Shakti expressing itself through her. In that wisdom is awakened. And she can apply that same thing in any field, because the energy is awakened. Once that energy is awakened, you can apply it in any field. The reason we are not able to do that is because our Aishwarya, the sovereignty, Shakti, is still dormant. So we're not getting that confidence, that ability to say, yes, I can do this. If I can do this, of course I can do all this. Right? And the Shakti, the actual energy to do that. Some acts require physical energy. Some acts require mental energy. And some acts require deep conviction and spiritual energy, right? So they have to be awakened, and only then we begin to truly embody. Here, what Sri Chakra is saying is all wisdom, all wisdom, all wisdom, sarva jnanamay. That is the kind of enrichment Sanatana Dharma is talking about. That is the kind of empowerment these practices are talking about. None of them are just blind beliefs. None of them are asking you to think of some goddess somewhere else sitting and she'll get pleased if you offer her sweets and something like that, and you're just waiting. No. All of these energies are within us, waiting to come forth. They are more eager to express themselves than us. But if we only begin to do that, then life becomes so much more enriched. I want to end this satsang a little earlier than normal, but we have a commitment at 9, so please allow me. We will continue this beautiful, very eye-opening Avarna in the next satsang. May this divine goddess, the Shakti within us, the Shakti in the universe, the source of all of this, continue speaking to our minds and to our hearts. And may we all take time to contemplate, so that she guides us to the ultimate concept of the crystal clear Shivalinga that you see on the screen. The pure, where there is only one consciousness. There is no two, there is only one. With that heartfelt gratitude, let us sing and chant Om Shri Matre Namah for a couple of minutes and bring the satsang to an end.
Om Shri Matre Namaha. 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 Samastalokaah Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastalokaah Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastalokaah Sukhino Bhavantu. May all the beings in all the worlds be happy. Jai Bolo Pavan Sutta Hanuman Ki Jai. Siyavar Ramchandra Ki
जय सतगुरु साईनाथ महाराज की जय। नमः पार्वती पतये हर हर महादेव। ओम शांति शांति।